Yerp. Yerp. Yes, sir. Welcome back to the channel, Yerp Nation. Noles Nation, Seminole Nation, stand up. Today we are going to preview this Saturday's matchup against the Louisville Cardinals at Doak Campbell Stadium on Bobby Bowden Field. I will tell you, Noles fans, it has been a long start to the season. We currently sit at 0-3, 0-1 in the conference. Louisville currently sits at 2-1. This is their first conference game. Man, it's our first game back in Doak after the debacle against Jackson State University. And here we go, man. So let's go ahead and get into Florida State versus Louisville. To start off, Louisville is 2-1. They lost their first game to Ole Miss 43-24. Won the next game against Eastern Kentucky University 30-3. And then squeaked out on a last-minute pick six against UCF to win 42-35 to get their record to 2-1. Let's talk about some team stats here. Let's get into it. Points per game. Louisville averages 32 points per game. Florida State, we average 23. Points allowed per game. Louisville gives up 27 points a game. Florida State, we've given up 32 so far. Total yards. Louisville is averaging 432 total yards, with 265 of that being passing and 168 of that being rushing. We are averaging at Florida State 364 yards a game, with 179 of that being passing and 185 of that being rushing, right? Yards allowed. Louisville is allowing 406 yards. 245 of that being passing, 162 of that being rushing. Florida State is allowing 421 yards, 289 of that being passing, and 132 of that being rushing. So let's move right into Louisville, and we're going to start on the offensive end. We'll start with some strengths and weaknesses. I can never say the word strength. I'm just my southern drawl. Some strengths was the F in there somewhere. Some strengths and weaknesses for Louisville's offense. On offense, the strengths that I have down for Louisville is quarterback play. Of course, you got Malik Cunningham. That guy can do it all. He can run it. He can throw it. Shoot, he even caught a pass last week or the week before, if I'm not mistaken. Wide receiver production. So far, this guy, 10 wide receivers have caught a pass this year so far. And I think 7 or 6 of those have caught more than 5 passes this year so far. So wide receiver production is very big for these guys. The running game, you got Malik and you got Jalen Mitchell at the running back. Those guys have very good running game. And like I said, the wide receiver depth as well. You got 10 guys that they have all caught a pass. They'll rotate in at least 8 of those guys. On a good day, if the game gets out of hand, you may see 2 more get into the game and get some tick as well. As far as weaknesses go for Louisville, running back depth. Behind Jalen Mitchell, nobody else outside of Malik Cunningham is really contributing to the running game that Louisville has. So I do think the running back depth outside of Jalen Mitchell is just a little subpar. So that is a weakness for those guys. Pass protection, they have given up some sacks. Malik Cunningham being sacked 4 times so far this year. So pass protection is a bit of a weakness. Turnover issues. These guys have committed about 5 turnovers this year, 4 turnovers this year in their 3 games. And all 3 games besides Ole Miss, you can say, well, the 2 games are against lesser opponents. And passing touchdowns. Right now, Malik Cunningham has only thrown for 3 passing touchdowns so far. So these guys, even though the wide receivers are producing, getting catches, getting yards, and do have a lot of wide receiver depth, they aren't getting in the end zone as much. A lot of these guys' touchdowns are coming from the running game, i.e. Malik Cunningham. So yeah, so those are the strengths and weaknesses. Some strengths: quarterback play, wide receiver production, running game, wide receiver depth. Weaknesses: running back depth, pass protection, turnover issues, and passing touchdowns. Now let's get into some key players for Louisville on the offensive end. Right at quarterback, Malik Cunningham, Mr. Do-It-All for their offense. He is going to have the ball in his hand all the time, every time, all day long. Malik Cunningham is 60 of 98, 734 yards at a 61% completion percentage. He has 3 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. He's been sacked 4 times. He also is the second leading rusher on the team with 42 attempts for 207 yards and 6 touchdowns, the leading rushing touchdown getter on their team. At running back, you got Jalen Mitchell. Jalen Mitchell is the leading rusher, 46 attempts, 213 yards, and a touchdown. At wide receiver, you have Amari Huggins Bruce, who is the leading receiver with 7 catches, 174 yards. Doesn't have a touchdown, though, but he is a big play threat. He does have a catch of 93 yards. He also is averaging 25 yards a catch, right? Next up, wide receiver Jordan Watkins. He is the second leading wide receiver on the team at 9 catches, 92 yards, 10 yard per carry average, but he also does not have any touchdowns. Another wide receiver that they're going to use a lot is Josh Johnson, who also has 9 catches for 90 yards and averaging 10 yards a catch. But guess what? Again, no damn touchdowns. At tight end, you have Josh Johnson. And Josh Johnson, I'm sorry. At tight end, you have Marshawn Ford. And Marshawn Ford is the second leading receiver on this team with 13 receptions, 156 yards. And he also has a touchdown credited to his name here. Jalen Mitchell also does have 6 receptions for 70 yards for 11 yards of reception. So he is a big factor coming out of the backfield as well in the passing game. Let's move on to Louisville on defense. On defense, some strengths for Louisville. I could not come up with like a definite strength for these guys. Like, again, if we go back to the yards per game, they are almost as worse as us on defense. We give up 421 yards on offense. On defense, they give up 406 yards on defense. With that being said, some weaknesses. The pass rush. These guys only have 5 sacks through 3 games, 2 being against lesser opponents. So only 5 sacks. They don't hit the quarterback much. Don't get after the quarterback much. Those sacks are usually from broken plays or great coverage in the back end when they do have great coverage in the back end. Causing turnovers. So far this year, they've only caused 3 turnovers so far this year. So causing turnovers is a big thing. And stopping the run and the pass. Like I said, they are giving up an insane amount of yards. And so are we. So are we on defense. Let's just be honest. This is probably going to be a shootout. A slug, no, not even a slugfest, a shootout, a high-scoring game, because I don't feel like either defense can stop either offense unless Florida State offense get to acting wild and with the penalties and all that good stuff there to set them back early in the chains. But other than that, man, this defense isn't what it was last year or even the year before. They're kind of having a hard time stopping people. They gave up a lot of yards to Ole Miss. They gave up a lot of yards to UCF. So yeah, let's get into some key players, if you will, on the Louisville defense. We start with D lineman Ashton Gillot. I don't know if I'm saying his last name right, but whatever. Ashton has 6 total tackles. He has a sack. He's going to be one of their best D linemen as far as getting to the quarterback and filling up holes and stuff like that. The captain and I think the glue to this team. At linebacker, you have C.J. Avery, who's the second leading tackler at 19 tackles. He does have a sack, and he does have 2 passes defended, so that is a guy to look out for. One of his running mates at linebacker, Monty Montgomery, he has 17 tackles. So he's another guy to look out for. Cornerback Keitrell Clark is probably going to be their best cover corner, and Keitrell Clark has 16 total tackles, 2 interceptions. So 2 of those 3 interceptions do go to Keitrell Clark. And in that safety, you have Kendrick Duncan, who is the leading tackler on this team with 20 tackles. He also has a sack, and he also has a pass defended. So those are some key players right there on the Louisville's defensive end. And then, like I said, I don't see big strengths right now so far this season with Louisville's defense. They've been giving up hella yards to everyone. And the weaknesses, we have the pass rush, causing turnovers, stopping the run and the pass, because let's just face it, like our defense, those guys can't seem to stop anybody on defense. Now let's get into 3 keys for Louisville to win the game. Number 1, the offense has to go through Malik and their Lamar Jackson and Ravens type offense. After watching them against UCF, they run a similar offense to what Lamar Jackson and the Ravens run. And they put the ball in Malik's hands the same way the Ravens do it with Lamar Jackson. So the offense has to go through Malik. Malik has to play well, whether that be throwing the ball, running the ball, or a little bit of both. Number 2, make FSU beat you through the air. We all know that FSU's running game is right. Our running game is our biggest strength at Florida State right now. So what Louisville has to do to win is make Florida State beat them through the air. Make McKenzie Milton have to sling the ball around in order to beat Louisville. That'll be hard. It's been hard. For some reason, our receivers can't get open. For another reason, our quarterbacks can't find the open receivers when they do get open. So if they make us beat them through the air and they can control our running game, then it's a wrap. I believe it's a wrap. Number 3, attack FSU secondary downfield. Our secondary this year has shown that they cannot, and I'll say it again, you probably heard me say it multiple times if you follow me on Twitter or if you are watching the channel and subscribed. Our DBs cannot cover an ant with a king-size comforter. We can't cover an ant with a king-size comforter, and it pisses me the hell off. But that is my third and final key for Louisville to win the game. Attack our secondary downfield. Louisville's Malik Cunningham, like I said, he's dishing it out to different wide receivers. A lot of guys have big yards per catch averages. So if they can attack us downfield, I feel like that'll open it up for the run game. Same way Wake Forest did early in the game when their wide receiver had like the majority of his yards in the first half. They attacked us downfield. They took some deep shots. They got those shots. They won them. And that just put them ahead. And then after that, they were coasting from there on out, right? All right, so now let's get into 3 keys for us to win on offense. Number 1, we got to find some sort of rhythm at quarterback, Florida State. No nation. At this point, if McKenzie Milton, and to me, McKenzie Milton doesn't look like he's 100% healthy. He doesn't have the same zip on the ball that he had when he was at UCF. And it just doesn't seem like the oomph is there. At this point, if Jordan Travis can't go and if he's hurt and he can't play at all, I don't see a problem with trying out Chuba. I really don't see a problem with trying out Chuba Hubbard. I mean, the worst come to worst, we lose, which we've been doing a lot of that, damn it, lately. So, yeah, man, we just got to find some sort of rhythm at quarterback, and we have to be consistent at quarterback. Our quarterback play has been highly inconsistent. We make plays here and there, but we just cannot make plays consistently. Number 2. Offensive line play is going to be key. We're going to have to open up holes. Like I said, Louisville's prone to giving up big plays in the run game and in the pass game. But guess what? That shit ain't going to happen if the offensive line cannot open up holes, if the offensive line cannot keep McKenzie Milton upright or whoever is at quarterback upright and not with happy feet. And I think this has probably been one of my keys to us winning a game every single game that I've previewed for Florida State. Because the offensive line play is so key, and we've had poor offensive line play for about 5-6 years now. Offensive line play is key in beating Louisville. If we can have great push up front, we can protect our quarterback, we can open up holes for the run game, I feel like we'll be successful. Number 3, wide receivers. Woosah. Wide receivers. Please show the hell up. Besides the one play to Ontario Wilson Saturday against Wake Forest, wide receivers, please show the hell up. At this point, we need to start putting some young guys in to see if somebody can create some kind of separation on a route, whether it be against man or if somebody can find a hole in a zone and dig down and make some catches. Or squeak by in a seam against the zone or something. But our wide receivers have to show up. I keep talking about inconsistent quarterback play, but guess what? If the wide receivers ain't getting open, the quarterback ain't going to have good play. So the wide receivers really need to show up in this game. That is it. Number 1, find some sort of rhythm at quarterback. Number 2, offensive line play has to be major. And number 3, with a wide receiver, please stand up. Please. On to defense. 3 keys to win on defense. Contain Malik. We have to contain Malik. We haven't played a real running threat at quarterback. We did at Jackson State University, but Malik is probably 10 times better than that kid. So, yeah, man, we got to contain Malik, man. We cannot let him run all over us like he did UCF and then be able to throw on us as well. What that opens up is the RPO. That opens up the option. That opens up big shots down the field because now guys are sucking up on those play fakes and stuff like that. So we definitely have to contain Malik. Number 2. Play that tough nose run defense that we saw against Notre Dame. I want Malik to have to throw the ball to beat us. He's only thrown 3 touchdown passes in 3 games. He's only thrown 3 touchdown passes in 3 games. Play tough nose run defense against that we saw against Notre Dame, against Louisville. Make them one-dimensional. That way, at least we don't have to worry about the run and we can focus more on the pass in the back end and hope those guys can do their job. And that just leads me into the key number 3 on defense, and that's cover somebody, cover anybody. Just please cover somebody. We have not been able to cover anybody, whether it was Notre Dame, Jackson State, Wake Forest. We just have not been able to cover and stop the big play. So please cover somebody. Now let's talk about 2 key matchups I'm looking forward to looking at when watching this game here. Number 1, Louisville's passing game versus FSU's secondary. I just spoke on it. Our secondaries had a hard time covering wide receivers this year. And Louisville's passing game, i.e. they don't have much to show for in touchdowns. But what does that mean when you're going up against a secondary that's been playing like ours, right? So I'm really intrigued to see how Louisville's passing game goes up against our secondary. If our secondary improves this week, or if Louisville's passing game gets the best of them, right? And then number 2, FSU's wide receivers versus Louisville's DBs. Louisville's DBs have given up some big plays. If you watched that game last week against UCF, it was big play after big play after big play on with UCF's wide receivers. I want to say, I want to be, I think we out-recruit UCF, right? So I want to say that our wide receivers should be more talented than UCF's. So I want to see our wide receivers against this Louisville secondary that's been prone to give up big plays, right? Guys jump short routes. If we can hit some guys with double moves and get a big play. But I'm just looking forward to FSU's wide receivers versus Louisville's DBs. And now for the finale, for my score prediction. No Nation, stand up. I got us winning 35-31, getting our first win on the season at home against Louisville. I think it'll be a shootout, but I do think we are able to get more than one more stop than Louisville's able to get, and we take this game 35-31. Let me know your comments, your preview, and your predictions down in the comment section. Please like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and you already know, Yerp Nation, I am real, and this is my damn sports opinion. Signing out.